Chapter 2, Arianwen. Unlike most Novembers, calm days seemed endless that autumn. Gwyn had to wait 3 weeks for a wind. It was the end of the month and the first snow had fallen on the mountain. During those 3 weeks he found he could not broach the subject of his ancestors, though he dwelt constantly on Nine's words. Since his birthday, the atmosphere in the house had hardly been conducive to confidences. His father, remote and silent, and his mother in such a state of anxiety that their day, the farm, the weather, and his school activities. But every morning and every evening, Gwyn would open his drawer, take out the yellow scarf. He would stand by his window and run his hands lightly over the soft wool, all the time regarding the bare, snow-capped mountain, and he would think of Bethan. Then, one Sunday, the wind came, so quietly at first that you hardly noticed it. But by the time the midday roast had been consumed, twigs were flying, the barn door banging, and the howling in the chimney loud enough to drive the dog away from the stove. Gwyn knew it was time. "Who were my ancestors?" he asked his mother. They were standing by the sink and he dutifully drying the dishes. His mother with her hands deep in the soapy water. "Ancestors," she said. "Well, no one special that I know of." "No one?" he probed. "Not on my side, love. Your grandfather's a baker, you know that, and before that, well, I don't know. Nothing special." "What about Nine?" Gwyn's father slouched in the chair by the stove, rustling his newspaper, but did not look up. Gwyn screwed up his courage. "What about your ancestors, Dad?" Mr. Griffiths peered unsmiling over his paper. "What about them?" "Anyone special? Nine said there were magicians in the family, I think." His father shook the newspaper violently. "Nine has some crazy ideas," he said. "I had enough of them when I was a boy." "Made you try to bring a dead bird back to life, didn't she?" his wife reminded him. "How?" asked Gwyn. "Chanting," grunted Mr. Griffiths. It was obvious that, just as Nine had said, his father had not inherited whatsoever strange power. It was that those long-ago magicians had possessed, or if he had, he did not like the notion. "They're in the old legends," mused Mrs. Griffith. "The magicians, then one of them made a ship out of seaweed. Gwydion, I think." "Seaweed?" Gwyn broke in. "I think it was. And Gwydion?" Gwyn absent-mindedly pushed his wet tea cloth into the open drawer. "That's my name." "Mind what you're doing, Gwyn," his mother complained. "You haven't finished. Math, Lord of Gwynedd, Gwydion of Gilfaethwy. And it was Gwydion that made the ship? Me? My name?" "It's what you were christened. Nine wanted it. But," Mrs. Griffiths glanced at her husband, "your father never liked it. Not when he remembered where it had come from. So we call you Gwyn. Dad was pretty fed up with all Nine's stories." Mr. Griffiths dropped his newspaper. "Get on with your work, Gwyn," he ordered, "and stop flustering your mother." "I'm not flustered, love." "Don't argue and don't defend the boy."